Welcome into TWMP Daily. Welcome back, I should say. We are joined by one of my absolute favorite people to talk politics with, the House Minority Leader, Ashley Aune. Thank you so much for making the time. I know you're very busy this week.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Was real honored to talk to Congressman Cleaver. You talk about a guy that has served this state well, and I've watched. I've said this in a few different forums on this redistricting. My text messages from legislators, this is the most different they've ever been from the tweets, right? I think especially folks that take government seriously, mostly rural Republicans, they know this. I don't think anybody's proud of this. Now, the suburban Republicans, of course, are thrilled because that's kind of their thing. But, and I think part of it is because of the respect people have for him.
Could be. I mean, I really think that, we're in a place right now in Missouri that I find to be deeply shameful, honestly. And I think that you're right. A lot of folks, I think the reason it's so deeply shameful is because so many of my Republican colleagues don't actually want to do this, but they're all about to file into this building and press the button that President Trump told them to. Not that their constituents told them to, not even that necessarily their leadership in the House told them to, but what President Trump is asking for. And frankly, I think that just shows that they have abandoned their conservative values. What happened to the party of small government? What happened to the party that rejected federalism? You're taking marching orders from the federal government. Okay, I guess that's where we are in Trump's America in Missouri in 2025.
I mean, dear boy, I don't. Representative West, who's chairing the committee that'll meet tomorrow, said here yesterday, Richard tells Rich, you don't have to wonder what's on Richard's mind. He's not a liar. He's just going to tell you what's up.
Sure.
One of the things I love about him, he makes the point. If you look at this map, the district, the people in St. Charles County, his district, this is way better for them. The whole state organized to keep St. Charles County from having a congressman, right? And they didn't work. And now they've just capitulated and said, okay. I mean, this is more than Bill Eigel asked for. But he said, this is good for Mike, which it is. We all want a congressman from our area, right? They're going to care more about where they're from than other places for the most part. But even he admitted he didn't see this map until the governor put it out. I mean, this was not I respect Mike Kehoe a great deal, but I do not believe this was drawn in Missouri by Missourians or for Missourians.
No.
This was a dictate, to your point, sent down from the federal government and told to do this. And Mike Kehoe's got some talking points, and he's doing the best he can. But I really think, the two-pronged special session was interesting because Mike Kehoe's not an actor. Mike Kehoe is a businessman, a good politician, and I think a damn fine governor. But when he was talking about the redistricting part of this, he was like, we're going to do redistricting, and I know it kind of sucks. You could just see it on him. It looked like a hostage video. Right. He should have held up that day's paper.
Right.
But then he talked about IP reform. His eyes lit up, and he started going to town. Something I believe he believes, something I believe in.
Right.
I do think this was sent from Washington to them and told them to do this. He did. I mean, let's be honest. Mike Kehoe didn't even really call a special session. Donald Trump did on his Twitter account.
Right. Yeah.
And then Donald Trump put out a thing. You have to do this just like it is. Don't change it. I guess let's point to a Governor Ashley Aune one day. Very popular Democrat president calls you and asks you to do something that you don't want to do. Wrong, right, but definitely not. It's not. You don't believe in it. It's very hard to tell the president of the United States no.
It's absolutely difficult to tell the president of the United States no, and frankly, especially this one. And I do not envy the position that Governor Kehoe is in. That said, I would like to believe that I have the political courage to stand up for not only my values, but for my constituents' values. And I think that if Governor Kehoe really took a moment to think about what the people of Missouri want and need, it isn't this. And I think if he's honest with themselves, he would acknowledge that.
Okay, I don't think the people of Missouri give a damn.
I think that if the people really understood what was happening, they would.
Maybe
I think the challenge is educating most voters about what's going on and how it affects their lives.
I've always enjoyed your perspective because I don't view you as someone who is sitting at 12 years old plotting your path to the presidency.
No.
You've lived a life and you've got into public service as you've gotten older. But before you really decided to get into public service, I know you were active a little before you ran, but before then, would you have give a damn about congressional districts and where the lines were?
Probably I would care. I don't think I would have cared enough to even make the trek down to Jefferson City to have my voice heard in a committee, certainly.
Yeah, of course not.
Like
no
I would care and I'd be mad and I might tweet about it, but what would that do?
Yeah, I'm with you. My gut tells me, look, I think the state's better off with Emanuel Cleaver serving in Congress. I do think there's a chance you could have another very good Republican come in with no seniority. But you know, Curtis Gregory is a member of Congress. That's something the state can be very proud of. I think losing Emmanuel Cleaver, though, there will be a Democrat president again. And you will need somebody they'll talk to. Now, maybe Wesley Bell goes into that role, but you know, St. Louis people are half nuts, maybe three-quarters. I mean, look at the person they elected before. She's an absolute socialist who no one would, I mean, just got eye rolls from everybody she met. You needed Emmanuel Cleaver.
Yeah, having a senior Democrat serving Kansas City and you know, a congressional district here in Missouri has been huge for our state. It's been huge for our region, frankly. I mean, the money, the infrastructure projects, and the way that he works with other senior members. Yeah. For instance, his relationship with Congressman Graves, my congressman. You know, I think that those are the things that, you know, we forget about.
I know he's a Republican,
those dynamics work.
But you got to admit, if you're going to have a Republican member of Congress, you want it to be the daddy of the delegation. You want it to be Sam Graves.
Right. You want someone with a little bit of power and someone who wants to.
How many members of Congress from Missouri go out there and don't ever turn in an earmark? They let those bureaucrats who never want to spend a dime in Platte County, they want to spend it in Boston and San Francisco and New York. They could care nothing for this state. Sam goes in there and gets him under the headlock and says, "You're gonna give money to Missouri."
Well, and that's exactly the kind of power that and partnership that someone in the minority needs, right? So a minority member, and I know this as a member of the super minority in Missouri, is that it's really beneficial for me to, you know, find the members on the other side of the aisle who I have something in common with, and we can glom onto that and work together towards a shared goal. That's when I am most effective in this building. That is when the congressman is most effective, is when he can work bipartisanly. And frankly, you know, there have been points in each of their tenures where they've been in the majority and then in the minority, and they've continued to work together. That is what we want in a congressman, not someone who's hyper-partisan, not someone who came into this job because a map was drawn just for them. I don't think that that's what most Missourians want.
By the way, got that buddy Charlie in St. James, hometown of the one and only Jack Cardetti for this terrific Stein. Give me the pitch. Let's say tonight you're walking to your office and you run into a member and they're Republican. They're like, what's your pitch to get them to not do this?
Well, first of all, I would remind my colleagues on the other side of the aisle that a 7-1 map was proposed in 2022, and a lot of members were still in the legislature, and most of them voted against it then. So I'd be curious what changed. Now, I know the answer to that. The answer is that Trump called. And I think that is the crux of my argument, which is, why are you doing this? Why are you going to vote for a 7-1 map? Is it because you believe in your heart that we need a 7-1 map in Missouri? Okay, maybe you do. Do you believe that if a year ago, say the tables were turned and Biden was president, and I was I'm the majority leader, floor leader a year ago, and I get a call and I've been given marching orders, right, from Biden. What would the Republican caucus say about that? What would they have said if I had said, "Oh, the president told me to, and he's the president, so, and I'm in the majority, so," I mean, if the tables were turned, I think that they would have a lot more to say about it than they currently do. And frankly, I think that they should be ashamed of
I think a lot of your members have a lot less to
capitulation.
say about it if the tables were turned.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. They'd be doing it. They'd be doing it for their personal. I think partisanship is part of everything,
Absolutely.
especially in the House. I think when you do things solely for partisan reasons,
Right.
there's absolutely no benefit to it. As a matter of fact, probably a detriment to the state.
Right.
But there's nothing from this except a partisan advantage. I think when people do that in government, pretty much universally it goes poorly. Yeah. There's got to be an element and an argument of the greater good or the betterment of the state. And in this, the argument is partisanship. But I'll say this. I think it's hard I know you, so I take you seriously because I've watched you on a whole litany of issues and how you've handled yourself since you've been in office. But I think it's very hard for a lot of people to take Democrats seriously on this issue. And I'll tell you why. Jake Vogel gave me this map. This is a clown show. There's a reason the retirement system for Illinois governors is prison. This is corrupt. This is partisan. And frankly, it's a lot worse than this. I saw Barack Obama, a person who I think holds a very important place in world history. And I have a high regard for how he carried himself when he was president. He put out a tweet, and he's like, "This is a threat to democracy." And I'm like, buddy, your own state did this, and I don't remember anybody saying this was a threat to democracy. So how can this be a threat to democracy and this not be?
Well, I would argue that I guarantee there were people who were screaming that it was a threat to democracy at the time. We probably just didn't hear it. I mean, I imagine the Republicans in Illinois weren't.
I don't think we should let Cubs fans vote at all.
But here's what I'll say to that. I actually believe that partisan gerrymandering and the incentives around it are insane across the country.
Emmanuel Cleaver earlier today called this wrong.
It is.
He said, this is wrong. I say it to any
Cleaver.
Democrat, this is wrong.
I agree with Cleaver. I think that partisan gerrymandering for any party, for any reason, is bad. I think that we should be really focusing on where do we go from here as a country with all of this tit for tat, if Texas is doing it, California is doing it, Illinois already did it, who's going to do what? If we're going to get into that, that is so bad for our democracy. It really is bad for our democracy. And I agree with President Obama. But I also agree that that map is just as bad as the map that Trump has proposed, and that we should be building incentives within our politics
really
to make sure that folks aren't gerrymandering for partisan purposes. Yes, absolutely.
I think just looking at the goofiness of the...
Well, they've got a lot more people, so of course it's just a visual thing. I mean, look at my district. My district is represented. Let's take a look at my district. I'm here in Platte County. I am represented by the same person who represents folks over in Hannibal, Missouri.
Well, it's Missouri, but yeah.
But, I mean, make that make sense. How's that compact and contiguous?
Well, I think
my district touches 3 states.
When you have places that are spread out, I think you're going to have. So you're saying this is worse because there's more people, so there's more people to maneuver around.
It looks worse, is all I'm saying.
It definitely looks worse. I mean, it just does.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see how you get around that. Well, give me the pitch to a Republican, right? A Republican, the laws that Congress passes affect us all. Give me the pitch to a Republican that looks at this and says, well, why shouldn't my team play by the same rules?
I would argue that we should all be working towards a shared nonpartisan rule.
I tell you
and
what,
I realize that is a Pollyanna-ish.
Okay, but let's say everybody agrees with you. But until then, if this is the rules the Democrats play by, shouldn't the Republicans play by them?
I mean, I think that's where we are, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that, if you ask a Republican, they're going to say the Democrat started it. And if you ask a Democrat, they're going to say the Republican started it. And I'll make the same joke to you that I made earlier, which is that we are in a cold civil war in this country in so many ways. I mean, the hyper-partisanship is out of control. And that's all we're seeing now. It's you did this, I'm going to do this. You did this, I'm going to do that. I wish we could build a system that deletes the incentives to do that, that makes the incentives pushing our lawmakers to build maps that are fair and that actually represent people and don't pull us apart the way they are.
I got to ask you a favor. I got to send Kiki Curls a picture so she knows we're not just dogging out. So I'm with you. Everybody playing by a set of norms would be better. But I will say this, and maybe this is me, the Republican, saying it. I look around the country at these maps. They're worst in places where Democrats drew them. I'll give you here's my Stein of knowledge thing on how we got here. Donald Trump has driven people insane. And we all have that uncle at Thanksgiving now who tells his jokes a little louder and a little more raunchier. But that's not where Donald Trump gets his juice with the people of this state from. That guy is annoying and he doesn't convince anybody. But he's louder. He is. The opposition has been driven nuts too by Donald Trump. Yeah. I'm going to the ball game yesterday. And I'm driving I'm driving by Hampton, and I see these old hippies, probably 80, 100 of them, with Trump is Hitler, Trump's a Nazi, impeach Trump. And I'm like, Donald Trump does things that are objectively out of the norm of what we've ever seen a president do. The things he says and does is very much out of bounds. But I'm looking at these people, and I'm like, you people are out of your tree, too. You're just as goofy as he is, if not more. I think he's driven people to do things like this. They freaked out, and the fact is Donald Trump's president. He's going to be president for 3 more years. And you could say he does a good job or a bad job, but I mean, hell, he's fighting for the same tariffs Dick Gephardt worked his whole life for, that all of a sudden now the Republicans love and the Democrats hate. So I think that he drove folks nuts. So they do this, and then now the Republicans do this. I think we're at I don't know what stops it.
I think that what you just described is simply that folks across the country are acting out of fear. They're acting out of fear in a lot of ways.
So they spray paint bread sheets and hang them off of overpasses?
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
they're acting out of being dipshits.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, look at the asshats who had their tiki torches and their
Morons.
matching haircuts, right? Like they looked stupid too, right? I
Totally.
think that we can all agree that when people are driven to the point of hyper partisanship, I'm not talking about partisanship. I'm talking about the people who are driven to do, frankly, like scary things like domestic terrorism. I mean, we can talk all we want about how what this has, what kind of effect it has on folks across the country and in these districts, whatever. But I mean, look at what's happening to lawmakers. Look at what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband and the lawmakers in Michigan who were murdered in their homes. I mean, there are people, ramming their cars into crowded, streets and they're taking deadly, devastating action in communities because of hyperpartisanship. That is a problem, and I really wish that there was something to be done. But I don't think that in Trump's America, that's possible.
I think you may be right. I do, to me, is this a good idea? No. Is this a good idea? No. I just don't. You don't know where it stops. I mean, I think you've got a very good man put in a terrible spot in Governor Kehoe. I think he probably is making the right decision overall for what he wants to do for the state. His vision of the state may be a little different than yours, but at the end of the day, I'm with you. I just don't know where the crazy train stops, because it just feels like the Republicans will do this now. So then California's going to do this, and then Congress, who I'm not even sure it matters anymore who's in control of Congress. I've not seen it be all that worth much anyway. Either way, but it feels like there's no end to where society will go. And maybe when Trump's gone, that changes. But I think part of it is Trump, yes, liar, jerk, all these things. There's a lot of truth to all that. I think he absolutely lies to people frequently, and they eat it up. Mm-hmm. But I also think his opponents make me go, by the time you're done with him, they start arresting him for nothing. And I'm like, you know what? I was about done with that guy, but that's bullshit. And I think the people of this country saw that too. I think people blame everything on Trump, and when you're well, like Harry Truman said, the buck does stop somewhere. But I also think his opponents have a role in this, of acting just as squirrely and sometimes more so.
I mean, I think you could argue that, but I also think that there is this feeling on the right, where folks are just trying to look for opportunities to own the libs, and I think that is a part of it. And I don't think that that's necessarily just on the right, but I do think that there's this feeling of we have to make them look bad. We have to do something. We have to fight back. We have to look tough, right? And there's that, which just puts us again back in that hyperpartisanship, and people are just trying to score points.
Yeah, I've never really owning the libs. I've never said that because it sounds really stupid, right? It'd be like to own the conservatives. You'd probably save your receipt, right? You wouldn't want to own.
No. Frankly, I think conservatives own themselves.
Is that a social media thing, though? Or is that?
Yes.
I don't think that's a real person thing.
I think people are bringing it IRL, Scott. I think that people are bringing
you got to help me out here.
In real life. That's internet speak.
Okay.
But I think people are bringing.
My daughter, so
they're trying to make their life look more like the comment section because they feel brave and strong in the comment section, and so they try to do things in real life too. I think that's what where we see people getting into fights in grocery store parking lots, right? That's where we see that come out. And I think that's just a microcosm of where we are in our country, and it scares me. I mean, I think that our media has a lot to do with it too, and I think you would probably agree that we all get so siloed into these media channels, and we get served to us what the algorithms know that we want to see, and then all of a sudden it's reinforcing our beliefs that we already held and not challenging us at all. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that we have in this country.
I think that Missouri used to be a bellwether. Yeah. Missourians used to vote for the person. Not all the time, but certainly you'd see this state vote overwhelmingly one way. And they'd vote for George W. Bush and they'd elect J. Nixon governor, right?
Right.
But now that's changed. I think because we get all our information on our phone. So now all the news we get is national news. And of course, a dog likes his belly scratched. You're going to like to hear the news that backs up your pre-existing beliefs. I do think that when we went from television and newspapers to our phone, everything became nationalized. Mm-hmm. And I do think that's a problem. I do not think Missouri does well when we're at the whims of the national mood.
I agree, and I think that one of the things about Missouri voters that I think is lost in the current political environment is that Missouri voters are really nuanced. Missouri voters
Used to be.
I think we still are. Look at how we vote legislatively and then on ballot initiatives. I mean,
Are those things detrimental to your party?
I think some would argue that they are. I think that
too.
some would argue that without, the initiative petition sabotage that's being proposed, that, if we do pass it, we might finally get to a place where voters are forced to vote for Democrats who actually represent the policies that they agree with, like expanding Medicaid, like enshrining abortion rights into our Constitution, like earned sick leave, because they go to the ballot box and they vote for that, but they also vote for a supermajority of Republicans in the legislature. And so, there are people who will argue that sabotaging the initiative petition process is actually going to be long run best for Democrats, but I think in the short run it limits citizens' access to the ballot, and I think that is hard stop.
I haven't seen what they're going to do, but I personally think it should maybe be a little easier to put a statute in the books. The legislature could change if they want to, but it should be a little harder to put something in the Constitution. Do you think? I personally think it's a little too easy to put things in the Missouri Constitution.
I don't think that, but I hear the argument, certainly. Here's why I don't think that. Because the whole reason for the initiative petition process, it exists for when the legislature is not listening to constituents, is not listening to voters. So it is a mechanism that allows an average citizen to say, you know what, enough of us want this, you aren't listening to us even though we elected you to listen to us, so we're taking matters into our own hands. And I think that if there is a legislature that is hostile to the ideas of the electorate, that absolutely it should be as easy as Missouri has made it, which is not to say that it's easy. It is a complicated process. But I do believe that the process that we have in place is exactly what it should be.
Really? You wouldn't change it? You'd be open to no changes to it?
I would prefer no changes.
The thing I've heard most is it goes by congressional districts and things. I've talked to some lawyers, some ones that are pretty good at this. They think that's not constitutional.
Yeah, I would say it's not constitutional. I would also remind folks who are talking about changing
this map will be much easier to get signatures, right?
I would think so, yes. And I also think that what is being proposed in this special session, I think it's incredibly dangerous though, because what it proposes is that 8 out of 8 congressional districts would have to approve of a ballot measure.
Don't you think it would be more fair if we're talking about sensible ways to make it harder? Shouldn't you have to get signatures though in all 8 congressional districts? Are you not? I know this is not the word. I'm going to use your word. You're not disenfranchising North Missouri and Southeast Missouri. No one comes down there and ever asks me to sign, because I wouldn't sign things, but we don't sign things for the government ever. Don't you think it's fair that if we're going to have to go by this Constitution, all 50,000 pages of it, why shouldn't you have to get our signatures too?
I mean,
is it just hillbilly discrimination?
I would just say that you'd have your opportunity to weigh in is at the ballot box.
Why do you get 2 opportunities to weigh in and hillbillies only get 1?
What I
Hey, Kelton, did I just come off that she's being racist against hillbillies? Because I think we did.
Damn it. Here's what I think. I think that I hear where you're coming from. I hear what you're saying.
Wouldn't that be a tweak in this to make it a little harder, but not impossible? Cape Girardeau people will sign anything. Ask Welker.
That I don't know about. What I do know is that it is incredibly cumbersome to get these signatures, as you know. And so I think that what is challenging about that argument is...
Is it though? It seems like they always get it done.
The argument, they do.
That thing Koster did a long time ago was the only one that didn't really come through.
One of the arguments against initiative petitions, the way they are, one of the arguments for reforming initiative petition, which I believe is actually sabotaging the process, is the proliferation of out-of-state interests and the money that comes in from out-of-state to get these ballot measures on the ballot.
I don't think anybody should take out-of-state money.
Imagine how much more money it would cost to collect signatures in the boot heel. How many people you would have to have on how many street corners. Okay, but I'm saying that you want to get money out of the system, that would be requiring more money into the system to collect signatures.
Oh, I thought
you have to pay people to collect them.
I thought you could just go do this because of concerned citizens would go get these signatures, right?
I mean, but both things happen. But do you know how few concerned citizens care about getting abortion on the ballot in certain parts of the state versus
Well, the
like
Constitution
passion.
affects the whole state.
Absolutely, it
So
does.
shouldn't everybody have the chance to collect signatures in their area?
They have the chance to. It's just harder to do it in some areas.
Yeah, I don't sign anything for the government. Nothing. Cape people are very pliable. They'll do whatever they're told.
Good to
But,
know. I'm gonna take notes.
Yeah, you get west of Jackson, you get to Gordonville, no one's signing stuff from the government. And by the time you get to Butler County, you might get shot trying to get people to sign stuff. I just don't. I guess to me, it should be a little harder. But I disagree with you on that. To me, that's an easy way to make it harder. None of these groups with all this money ever have problems getting their signatures. I mean, when's the last time they failed? Chris Koster had something on deal, and that's it. It was about 10 years ago.
There have been failures along the way. Like ranked choice voting a few years ago failed to collect the signatures.
I felt so sorry for them people. I mean, they explained it to me once, and I'm like,
it's so confusing. I know, it's really hard to
I got my
explain.
boots off and tried to do the math.
It is a brilliant solution to the hyperpartisanship that we were just talking about. It is just really complicated and too difficult for the average voter to really understand.
And especially someone as dumb as me, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Wouldn't it be better if you just voted for the person you wanted, put everybody on the primary ballot, vote for the person you want, just vote one time like you do now, and then in the general, vote one time again.
I mean, I think that, that's certainly one way to approach it.
You get 80% of what you're trying to do with ranked choice voting, but you get it in a way that actually people could grasp and maybe actually try. No one was ever going to vote to do that. That was never going to happen.
It's tough. I mean, listen, I'm not going to knock anyone for trying to build momentum around a solution to a problem that most of us agree exists. Was it the right solution? Maybe not. Is it the right solution for Missouri? Maybe not. But I would love to see a solution here. The hyperpartisanship, like I said, it's one of the biggest complaints about the current state of our politics, and certainly the state of politics in Missouri.
I agree with you. I just don't think Trump is the whole thing. I think the reaction of people to Trump, it empowers him. It is the oxygen that his movement breathes.
I agree.
And it empowers him so much to do things that are so outside the norm, because you got squirrels on the overpass on Hampton Road saying Trump's Hitler. Hitler's Hitler. Trump's Donald Trump. And there's certainly flaws with that. Good Lord. But give me a break. He's not a threat to democracy and all this other hyperbole. I think there's very real critiques to Trump's public policies and Trump the person. But they're drowned out. He started talking about democracy. They voted for Trump, and they're going to vote next fall. And then they're going to vote for somebody else 2 falls after that. And no one believes they're going to stop voting. Now, maybe I'm naive, and I'm just walking through happy hillbilly, not knowing, looking forward to Oktoberfest, just happy, and I'm not going to get to vote. But I kind of think I am.
I don't think it's naivete, Scott, but I do think it, and you're going to hate me for saying this, but I do think it comes from a place of privilege. I think that the Trump administration has not
I grew up in a trailer down the state line.
No, I know, but you are not being personally affected by Trump's policies the way some marginalized communities are.
Ollie Marmol's the manager of the Cardinals. We're the shits. Where's my privilege? I'd like some.
I'm talking
Can
about
I get a double helping?
I'm talking about folks in Hispanic communities who are being targeted, who are terrified that their grandmother is going to be yanked out of their home. I'm talking about, Black people across the country who are seeing this trend of their congressional delegation being decimated by this plan that Trump has given down. I mean, these are people who have actual things on the line, and it's easy for us to sit here,
I don't
with the privilege that we have and say what you want about it, but we do have some privilege. I'm not saying that we are the most privileged people in Missouri, certainly not, but our privilege exists, and I am here to just
it's
say it
the
out loud.
privilege of being
It's
the privilege of being a United States citizen.
There's huge privilege in that, absolutely.
If you're not a United States citizen and you're here in violation of the laws of the United States, I don't think that means you're put out by having to follow the law. I'm talking about the
people who are living in fear because they are abiding by the law, but the color of their skin is wrong, according to folks who are rounding people up on the street.
Do you get deported if you're a United States citizen? If you pull your driver's license
there are absolutely examples of people right now who are not being given due process, who are being sent to gulags in other countries.
I have the worst driver's license, even for me. That's bad.
It's not great. Mine's pretty bad too, but
I bet you I'm the worst ever. If somebody comes up to me and says, "Are you American?" and I'm like, I don't think you should have to tell the cops who you are. I think that's bullshit, but these tough on crime Republicans have about taken all your rights away. I think if I hold in my driver's license, like I have to go to the casino or get on a plane, hand them this, I don't think I'm getting deported. I just don't.
Right, and I think that it
Do
is
you
a
know of
privilege
anybody
to
that's-
have access to your
I don't think-
documentation.
I don't think-
Not everyone has access to their documentation. Not
Now,
everyone has access
you know
to...
that you can go to the health department, get you an ID card.
Oh,
it's
what,
free.
with all the copious amounts of spare time I have between all of the jobs that I
got-
work,
you-
or
you're
the
one of the
children
busiest
have to
people
take
I know.
care
You got a driver's
of,
license?
or the...
Is that personal?
Yeah,
driver?
I have
Yeah.
a vehicle. I have spare time.
Somehow you get
I
that
have
done.
childcare. I have access to a lot that allows me to access those documents that some people just don't.
But you figure it out. You're one of the busiest people I know. You figure it out.
And there's a lot of privilege in my ability.
I
to
don't
do
think
stuff.
people know that you're of Hispanic descent.
Hispanic.
I
and
would
Native
not have known that
American.
until you told me that.
Yeah.
Well, I think the people of this state have pretty clearly decided if you're here illegally, they don't mind you being deported.
Right, but that's not what's happening in this country. Like, I want to be very clear about that. That is not what's happening. There are folks who are being removed from their homes, who are being removed from this country without due process. And I think those are the people who I'm trying to give voice to right now.
I would say there's a lot of folks, I would say the vast majority of this state, think that there's too much due process if you're here illegally. It's a very simple thing. Are you
I would
here?
talk to some constitutional conservatives about how they feel about due process.
You mean the ones that are pro-choice now, the constitutional conservatives? Because Constitution. I'm not a constitutional conservative. I'm not totally sure what that even means. But I am a person that thinks I kind of agree with folks. If you're here illegally, I don't have a lot of sympathy. And I think the process is too long to deport people. I think Joe Biden didn't want to deport anybody, so he just didn't. He just turned them loose. I think the folks of this state and this country, frankly, voted very clearly to say, if you're not here legally, you should go home. Now, is that good for the country? Is it? I don't know. You'd have a much better, as a policymaker, feel for that than I do. But I do think the folks in this state have said, yeah, this is not, if you're not here legally, go. And I don't think they have a lot of sympathy.
I think that's correct. I think it disappoints me as someone who understands the complexities of what's happening around our globe and what drives people to immigrate into the United States or to seek refuge here.
I think Donald Trump was so smart when he said America first. I think this state, I think people in Northland believe America first. I think sometimes Northland even believes in the Northland first over the folks south of the river.
That's absolutely true.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of folks that look and say, we've paid for everybody's free freight for a long time. And I think they don't recognize the what immigrants do, even illegal ones do, to contribute to this economy. They think their life is not as good as their parents, and it's easier to blame someone who's brown, who's not from here, than look at themselves.
No, I think that's exactly
or
right.
look at their parents who spent money into oblivion and ran dread up in this state. Both parties, no one's blameless, and they know the country is going in a southward direction because their parents lived high on the hog. Higher on the hog than they should. The baby boomers were probably the most destructive generation in American history. And that's not partisan. That's both from some bitches.
Yeah, no,
all of them.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
Hell with all of them.
Yeah.
And they left the bill to you and me. And now we're choosing to leave the bill to our kids.
Well, I think that's part of the problem, right? I mean, like you said, Joe Biden didn't want to do this. Well, what president has wanted to actually take solid action
Zero.
on immigration reform? And I think that's the
Donald
crux
Trump.
of it, is we have done
Donald
so
Trump.
much around the globe to disrupt countries, to disrupt governments. And we have to understand, what does it matter if we put America first if we are not, being decent stewards of the democracy that we care so much about, right? That we espouse so often.
Do you
and
go
so proudly.
places in this state outside of political events where people are truly concerned about democracy? I get around this state as much as anybody that's not named Mike Kehoe, and I'll tell you, if I'm not in a city at a political Democrat event, I have not run into one Missourian that thinks their democracy is under threat.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Scott. I don't spend a whole lot of time outside of political circles these days.
Fair enough.
But I will say, in my personal conversations, I'm still hearing it. Now, is it because it's me and people think that
that's
I'm
fair.
an outlet for that? Maybe. But I hear it everywhere I go. And do I think it's the strongest argument for Democrats going into November of
I think no one
26?
takes you seriously on
No.
it. I don't.
But I do think that it's important that we keep an eye on these norms being trampled by this administration and other administrations, and frankly, by lawmakers across the country now. They're taking notes from Trump and just following his lead, doing what he does, and seeing
People
what
follow
sticks.
success everywhere. I mean, it is what it is. I'll tell you this. People talk about America First. The federal government burnt Bates County to the ground. Burnt Butler. Now, they went and burned Iraq, and they sent them billions of dollars. They never sent a check to Bates County. Not one for what they did. The burnt district. You might remember from the Civil War. I think folks kind of don't give a damn about the rest of the world. Right? I personally don't give a damn. Like, I just don't care about Ukraine. I don't really care about the Middle East. I kind of care about, like, middle Cole County.
I think that that's great, but I think that, what that forgets is the fact that America is great because of our role in the world, because of how we're viewed in the world. We can go, for my entire life until recently, frankly, I think that Americans could travel around most of the world and be kind of revered as like, oh, they're Americans, right? I think that now, especially after Obama won, I know that you saw the reaction of the world, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like that.
We'd also just invaded a country for no reason, so people were ready for something.
All I'm saying is, there are people who come into politics who I think speak to something that is happening in the electorate, and I think that that's what Trump has done with America First. But I think that it's much more difficult to educate Americans on why our role in the world has looked the way it does, what history shaped that role, and why so many of our leaders, Republican or Democrat, have saw fit to continue that role.
But I have no problem making Poland pay what they signed a treaty and promised to pay for their defense. Honestly, it should matter more to Poland whether Russia invades than it does me, because I don't really care.
And I agree with that. I mean, you'll have no argument there.
I like what Trump said. Pay up, dudes.
We have a role. We have a role to play.
Yeah.
And I think that role should be fair. I think it should be well negotiated and well understood. But I think that we do have a role. And I think that if we abdicate that role on a global stage, I think that hurts Missouri.
Should Democrats stop fighting with Donald Trump? I mean, he's won. In Missouri, he's won. You're not going to beat him. He's not on the ballot anymore. Should you not move and fight Republican Brand in general, or J.D. Vance, or someone that's not so damn good at winning Missourians over?
I think that what I will say is I don't think that Democrats spend a whole hell of a lot of time fighting against Donald Trump in this state. I think that we fight.
Tell them to those weirdos on that overpass on Hampton Road in St. Louis.
Let me rephrase: elected Democrats.
Okay.
But no, I think that when you talk about the ire of the average voter, the folks who are angry, who are on street corners with signs. I was at a rally with over 1,000 people on Labor Day in Kansas City.
I'm offering right now the charity of your choice, campaign political. I want to buy the Patterson face.
Hey, you're gonna have to talk to the Jobs with Justice folks about that, but they are gonna bring it to the Capitol on the 10th. So keep an eye out. Yeah.
Is that Dave Cook's thing?
No, but I'll
all right, I need to be educated.
I'll see if I can connect you.
Yeah, I'm down to buy the Patterson head for sure. That'd be awesome. That'd look great in here, right by our Truman.
Right?
We could totally.
I can't believe I haven't brought you one of my signs.
I'm a little disappointed.
I know.
Betsy Fogle also. This is to you. You can't complain about not having a sign.
Come on,
if you haven't given me a sign, what am I supposed to do? Go down and steal them out of the yard and sprinkle them? The last topic, because I know you've got 1,000 people pulling at you right now. This comes down to they're able to do this, which I think is shoddy and wrong and partisan. I kind of understand. I have a little more understanding than maybe you do, but this is not a good thing for the state of Missouri. But they're able to do this because they win elections.
Yep.
You had a fantastic fundraising quarter, the second quarter. Hats off.
Thank you.
Your task with actually winning these races.
Right.
Now, this is just my white trash opinion. I don't think anybody I went and watched you knock doors once. I had a whole different. Someone said, well, are you surprised that she was Floyd? No. Are you surprised that she had this great? No. I saw how you interact with people, regular people. They're not political. None of those folks I watched you knock on the door were political. They were like, well, this seems like a nice person. Who the hell's that weirdo sitting on the sidewalk? I don't think any of those people give a shit about democracy. You're not going to win them over with that. I think they, by and large, have accepted Trump, the warts and all. You've got to win races.
Right.
I don't think protests help. I think they actually hurt you winning races of regular people. I think your defund the police stuff is a burden put on you. None of the people I watch you knock on the door want the police defunded. Matter of fact, they probably live in Northland because they want a lot of cops. Now, in Southeast Missouri, we were different. But What do you sharpen that message? Because I mean, you're tasked with not yelling into the void at rallies, and I mean, that's kind of worthless. You're tasked with actually winning races on these doorsteps. What is going to be the message to where you win some races that can't do this?
Yeah. Our message this cycle is truly accountability for the folks who deserve it. I think that the Missouri GOP supermajority has been operating with impunity for far too long, and I think that it is our job as Democrats to hold them accountable, which means making sure that voters in districts where there is a vulnerable Republican, especially districts that tend to vote for a Republican to represent them, but also vote for abortion rights or workers' rights or, all the things, expanding Medicaid. Those are the areas where it is incumbent upon us as Democrats to make sure that voters know what their representative is doing on their behalf or not. And that is where we win, by talking to Missourians about what is actually affecting them and how their representation is not effective for them.
Well, and you could tell I don't do campaigns, but maybe Cardetti or somebody smart could. I think it's a very fair point to say that in the last 25 years, name me the thing that's went good in the state of Missouri. Since the Republicans took over, has our GDP kept over the national average? Nope. Has our population growth? Nope. We've lost a congressional seat, actually. I would say we're a lot closer to losing other than gaining one.
We're at the bottom of every list.
The one thing I will say, I think you have to credit Moon Choi. I do think the University of Missouri, over the last 25 years, is far and away better. It's excelling. You could probably go to Maryville and some of the academic institutions. I think you could say, look what's happening down in Springfield. But I mean, this is the thing that I think is truly going very well. I think everyone would agree. Outside of the University of Missouri, I'm not sure what we point to and say, as a Republican Party, I asked Governor Key when he sat there, what would you point to say we did good? I've heard all the promises on tax. Like, I'm a tax cut guy. I don't pay taxes at all. I hate them. Look, find me a way not to pay taxes, I'm in. But I do think there's been a lot of promises fixed with the tax cuts. I ask folks when they come on, what one of those promises has been kept yet? Because I don't see any. I don't see the public good. Is there a way you can connect that to folks? Because, I mean, I've been a Republican. I was Matt Blunt's county coordinator for Secretary of State. But I think it's very fair to say that the state has not grown and not progressed in the last 25 years.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think that is actually a message that I deliver constantly to people.
Well, it's like the scoreboard. It's like, they like to rub it in your face, the legislative majorities. I don't see a lot of the success for Missouri.
I am not seeing it either, and that is something that I talk to voters about constantly. I remind them that they've been in charge for the past 20-something years, and what do we have to show for it? We have the highest maternal mortality rates. We have the lowest paid teachers. That's not something that we should be proud of here in Missouri, and frankly, I think that we can point to the one-party rule that has been going on in Missouri. And my argument is simply that diversity of thought is better for democracy. And I think that having a more balanced legislature and more incentive to cross the aisle and work together is what will make Missouri much stronger than it is right now.
Ashley Aune, as always, I enjoyed the conversation very much. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We will be on our college tour. We are going to the University of Central Missouri this week for This Week in Missouri Politics. We will have, I believe we're going to have Mo, we're going to have President Best, Ray Reed, a UCM alum, is coming over. But most of all, we're going to have David Pierce, I think, which is kind of what I'm mostly looking forward to seeing. At UCM on Sunday. Then we'll be back here, maybe an Andrew Bailey discussion before he leaves town. Here on the day. We'll let you know. Catch social media channels, and we'll see you, if not before, we'll see you Sunday on This Week in Missouri Politics. As we fly.